Welcome to Bring Out Your Badass Self, a movement to break your negative thoughts and habits and instead focus on building each other up and encouraging fearless authenticity.
Each week, we will get vulnerable and share experiences alongside our guests and audience. Come rediscover your inner badass self.
Good morning, badass.
Good morning. How are you doing?
I am doing well. I am happy it's Friday. I have felt like it was Thursday for like there was a Monday and then there was Thursday.
They were all Thursdays.
We were all Thursdays where you were like, this week has got to be over soon because there's been so much going on.
Yay, it's finally Friday.
Yes,
no longer Thursday.
Yep.
That's awesome. Well,
Yeah.
as you can tell, I am not home today.
No, you are not.
I am in the lovely Miami area, and so the weather has been amazing, and so
Really?
Every time we have breakfast in the morning, I've been going out and eating outside, and I'm like, this is just amazing weather, and my view is amazing. It's too bright. I tried to put it over that direction so I could like show people the outside, but it was just too bright, so I ended up having to move it back. So
Yeah.
But I'm also here at a conference, so Cate and I are going to be saying hello this morning, and we have actually pre-recorded our conversation today, and so we're going to be chatting still with you guys, but we weren't sure what my schedule was going to be like, so we went ahead and pre-recorded today's episode, but we're coming on live this morning just to say hello. And we do have some announcements and things like that as well, so do you want to do our first one?
I do. This is our first one. Good morning, Kim, and happy 55th birthday.
Yay!
Double nickel, boom, boom. So excited for you. You are such a joy to our lives, and you're such a fantastic supporter of BOYBAS as well. You are here every Friday. It's so rare when you're not here that it makes an impact on us. So good morning and happy Friday and happy birthday.
Yes, happy birthday. This morning I was sending her, when she told me she was 55, I was like, oh shit. And I'm like 5'5". So I was sending her what 5'5" means. So 5'5" is all about freedom, balance, and positive lifestyle. It's about releasing old doubts, fears, perceived obstacles, and looking forward to wonderful new opportunities. And so it's really about people realizing who they are, and it asks them to accept themselves exactly who they are. And that is a nurturing, just amazing, beautiful person that we're both so happy to have in our lives.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't imagine wholesale right now without Kim. I mean, she is just, and she's carrying it like right now in terms of what her work is. Man, she is carrying a heavy load.
She has a lot, especially, we have a lot of our clients that are looking to move, and she has her hands full with connecting with all of those clients.
Yep, absolutely.
And she said, thank you.
Yeah.
I so love that.
Yeah. Aw, that's awesome.
Awesome. Well, we also have another announcement as well. And so I don't know if you guys realize this, but we are 3 days away from ending our second year and starting in on our third year. So we're having our second anniversary. Basically today or next week is considered our anniversary here at BOYBAS.
Yeah. So if like BOYBAS was a baby, it's already walking. It should be weaning off of breast milk.
It's getting into mischief and chaos, and making things look crazy around the house.
Yes, exactly. Right. It is. So it's been amazing. I can't believe, honestly, it feels like we've been doing this longer than 2 years, and that not in a bad way, like in a like this is just a part of who we are. It's been, so much fun, and it's gone by really fast. Yeah, we're toddlers.
I know we're toddlers. And so, I mean, but this is a fun time. It's about curiosity and expanding, and that's really what we are continuing to do, especially with this year in the
Yeah.
things that we're covering. We're really helping people to be a little more curious, and it's interesting every time I talk to someone about the 12 laws of the universe, they're like, "Ooh, what's that?" And so
Right.
we're we're curious about ourselves and about the universe, and we're passing that on to other people.
Yeah. It's been such a great, yeah. And it's been such a great ride so far. I mean, I'm so grateful that you had the idea, and I'm just loving the movement that we're creating and the impact we're having, and it's been a lot of fun. Like, that's been the best part, is that it's been seriously enjoyable, and it's not like it doesn't come without work, but it's like so pleasant, like it's really enjoyable.
Yeah. I love every Friday just
Hmm.
covering different topics with you, and really just connecting with different types of people. I didn't
Right.
realize how much this was going to allow me the ability to connect with so many different people. I actually
Right.
have a video that's it's going to be coming out that I did, and I got permission from the person because I was like, I feel like I need to get permission from them before I do this, but it's someone that I connected with that completely different background in a different country and different religion and like all those things, and we just had the most amazing conversation. But this is really I love that this is helping me to be able to connect with people of different beliefs, and that's really what it's about, is continuing to bring in diversity, bring in different types of people, and learn
Yeah.
from different people.
Yeah, absolutely. The other aspect that I really love is the authenticity and being able to inspire others, but just by being myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's awesome. Like, that I get feedback on a regular basis that, this is beneficial, that this is, at times pushing the agenda forward of authenticity, and sometimes that we cover things that are taboo, or we do things that others might not be willing to do, and that it's welcome and it's needed, and it's, to me, it's nothing all that special, other than we're just being ourselves, and we're leveraging a platform, and sharing it, and then engaging with folks, like, so, you all coming and willing to engage and share your stories and be yourselves,
Yeah.
it just makes it all that more important and amazing.
Yeah, you definitely hit it on the nail on the head. Just being able to be yourself and get more comfortable with being yourself and live with
Right.
people each week, and
Right.
then seeing the impact from other people and it encouraging them to be more authentic. And just the as I talk to people about it, and they're just like, oh wow. And as
Mhm.
they start to come and be a part of this, it really just continues to encourage them to continue to discover more about themselves. What I really love is the self-awareness of
Mhm.
learning more about yourself and then watching other people learn more about themselves. Also, just seeing people realize that there's shit that they don't need to deal with. Like, you can say no,
Mhm.
you can set boundaries, you can do that, in what it is that you need to be able to grow. But it's also
Right.
the self-reflection of, am I really understanding more about myself, what it is that I need to be happy? Because there's just so many people out there that feel that they have to do something when they don't.
Right.
And I've been seeing it internally, even within our company, and it's been an amazing thing to just watch people go, you know what? I don't. We are not going to put up with this shit. You know, and
Right.
they say it in a very nice way, but they'll be like, look, if we can have a professional conversation, you know, but belittling and degrading people is a non-starter. Like, I had
Mhm.
a manager tell one of our clients this, and I was like, good for you.
Mhm.
Because life is too short, and that's really what this is about, is that you got to find yourself, you got to find what brings you happiness and peace, and push out the rest of the noise.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I will say that um, this journey, it helps me, like, so it does help me to be more self-reflective. And when you are in a position of sharing information and being yourself and finding new people to interview and new ways to talk about a topic, um, it it broadens your own horizons, right? So it's become a part of how I interact with with the world, and like and keeping my thoughts and my brains more active, my brain more active, like, it's been amazing for that too, because you get stuck in your rut of doing your job, doing your family, maybe doing a hobby, and this has been an added um, little venture, but it's also like keeping it's a whole nother path to keeping, like, the spirit of learning and growth alive for me, at least.
Yeah. All right, we got several people that have
Yeah,
joined
let's say
us.
hi
So
to
we will
people.
say hello. And so Carmen, first one to come on, she said, "Good morning, my favorite beautiful badasses. Happy Friday. Let's go."
Let's go.
And she is probably the person that gets up every Friday, and she is up early. So she's coming in from California, and she is with us almost every Friday. And so I just want to say thank you to Carmen for always having been my champion in my life. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah, I just love Carmen, and it was beautiful to meet her in person, and
yeah.
yeah. Thank you, Carmen.
Thank you. And then Heather's been joining us. Thank you, Heather, for joining us. She says, good morning.
Good morning, Heather.
Maria's another person that's just continued to support us. And, you know, it's just that reciprocal support, you know, where,
Hmm.
you know, she has new endeavors and things that she's doing, and she's just going for it. And I love that. And that's what it's about. But she says, I feel like I've lived a year each month since about October.
Yeah, yeah. Maria is one of these people that when she's here, we notice, because her impact is so significant, because she brings in an entirely different view sometimes.
Yeah.
She's also a fantastic cheerleader.
Yeah.
And I love the Fridays when Maria is able to be with us. I really, truly do.
I do as well. She always provides just a some of the comments and things like that. You're like, ooh,
I know.
I like
She's
that.
right. So good. So smart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you, Maria.
Yeah.
Carrie's another one. She's been with us really since the beginning. And so
Yes.
what I love is just also her humor. And as you can see, happy Friday Pie Day. So it is, it's 3:14.
Yes.
But I just love her sense of humor that she brings to the show.
Yes. We still have to get Carrie on at some point.
I know.
She's a riot.
I got to connect with her not too long ago. We were supporting another fellow person that we've known for many years, and so I was able to see her, and she also came for my 50th as well for my party. And so I know she left. She left before you got there.
Oh, okay.
Early, you were late. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
She left early, and you arrived after
Right.
she left. Awesome. All right.
Okay.
Well, let's see
Thank you,
who
Carrie.
else is here. And I think Lisa as well. So Lisa says, happy Friday, badasses. And so I've really enjoyed Lisa continuing to join us, having really connected with her at the end of last year and having
Yeah.
her come on. And the things that she shares, she's really sharing some badass stuff as well. Taboo stuff that a lot of people don't want to talk about, which is menopause.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's a wealth of knowledge, and she's a sweetheart, and really enjoy seeing your beautiful face, and your energy, and love having you here, Lisa. Thank you.
Carmen said, I love you too.
Hmm.
So Maria said, me too. Oh, and then we have Jen joining us. She said, happy ladies, or hi ladies, happy Friday. I'm late hopping on, hoping you two have an awesome badassery day. And so, Jen, we're just talking about how this is our second anniversary for the show. And we were also just wishing happy 50th, 55 birthday to Kim as well. And so thank you for joining us. Jen is continuing to add to the badassery of ladies that we have in our crew.
Yes. Yes. I love me some J Ro. Everyone knows that. And she's so busy. She's got so much going on, but she tries her damnedest to be here every Friday to say hello to us, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah, and I'm in the Sunshine State as well. I'm in Florida. I'm in Miami. I know you're in Tampa.
Yeah.
So awesome. All right. Well, today we are going to be talking about, we're going to be getting vulnerable. So Cate and I have pre-recorded. We're going to show that video because I also have a conference that I have to do.
She's gonna jet.
So I'm going to jet, and then we're going to finish things out with the video today. But at the end, we are going to do a little bit of a recap of what you guys can anticipate in the coming Fridays. And I just want to give just a final thank you to everyone. Thank you for supporting us. We are on our 95th episode. We are 5 away from 100 episodes. And so, Cate and I were trying to figure out, like, how do we celebrate? Like, how do you guys want to celebrate with us? I'd love to hear that as well. And we have to look at, like, who's going to be that 100th episode as well.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy that we are 5 away from 100, and it's just been in 100 different conversations, 100 different moments of laughter. We've laughed at least 100 times live, you would say,
Oh yeah, and I can't count how many times I've cried either.
Right, exactly. Yeah, right. I mean, so many vulnerabilities have been shared, and tears have been shed, happy tears, as well as just the deep emotional, like, holy shit tears. So
yeah.
It's been a beautiful ride, and really appreciate you all. Don't go away. Or from the comments, so
Yep.
we're still going to be live. We're still going to be here making comments. We just aren't going to be able to be live. So,
And I can tell you that this one is very vulnerable. We have a lot of stuff in there that we're going to be sharing that definitely is not your typical conversation that people tend to have publicly.
Yep. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Sarah, for taking, a couple of moments away from your conference, for meeting me and celebrating here with me for our second anniversary. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right. I'm going to pull up the video and we'll get started.
Yep.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well this morning.
Yeah. Feeling badass?
I'm feeling badass actually today. How about you?
I am. It's we're pre-recording. It's close after daylight savings, right? So
Yes. No one
I
gave me a warning, by the way. You know what? Someone did give one warning and I completely forgot about it. Jay and I woke up and he was like, what is going on with the time? And I was like, I don't know what's going on. And then I finally was like, oh yeah, it's a daylight savings. He's like, oh, that makes so much sense. But you normally get all those reminders. We didn't get any of those reminders.
No, none. Right. We talked about it for a while and we were ready for it. But I wear this watch. It's like a sweatband. I should show it sometime, but it is to vibrate me awake. Because depending on, I'm a really light sleeper, so normally it's not a problem, but every once in a while if I have not slept all night and then like fallen asleep, you know, I will sleep through something because I only fell asleep maybe an hour ago or something, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I was setting it's a thing that syncs with my phone. And when I was setting it last night, it was doing this really weird thing where it kept bouncing the hour up. And I was like, oh, okay, so this must be related to daylight savings. So I set it, got it to the right numbers. But anyway, this morning it went off an hour before it was supposed to go off each time. So it was very weird. So I have to figure that out.
Oh, wow.
Like I knew what was happening, you know, I was like, okay, I'm not waking, you know, like this is not the right time, but it was just strange. So I have to figure out what happened there. But my alarm went off at like 3:45 this morning. And usually my first alarm goes off at 4:45. So I was like, no.
Well, so last night I went to bed maybe 6 o'clock, something like that.
Really?
And
Why?
oh yeah, because I was just tired. Like Jay's
You're
like, hey, I'm gonna go take a nap. And I'm like, I'm sitting there. Like, you know what? I'm tired. I actually like that idea. So I went upstairs. I slept all the way until I was up this morning. And Cate reminded me, she was like, hey, I'm going to be jumping on soon because we were going to pre-record. I was like, oh shit. I was like, I'm not.
Yeah. So you were still in bed when you got that text?
I was still in bed. I was awake, but I just, for whatever reason, didn't think that it was the time.
Yeah.
And so how quickly would you say that I got ready?
Pretty fast. I mean, you were ready within like 10 minutes. I mean,
I know. And so luckily I'm pretty good. I can do like dry shampoo and blow dry my hair, brush my teeth, put on deodorant, and
just be ready to go.
I could be really quick. And so yeah. But I'm feeling refreshed, to say the least.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, because you might have got like over 12 hours of sleep, right?
Yeah, exactly. I did wake up in the middle and I was up for a little bit, but then I ended up going back to sleep. And I was really focusing on actually sort of today's topic of really setting intentions and setting goals and things like that. So I was thinking about the things that I'm wanting in life.
Yeah. Yeah, I do it. Jenna and I, so it's interesting you mentioned that. We talk so much about our goals. I mean, like it is a primary topic in our marriage and relationship and family.
Yeah.
I mean, we regularly, as we are sitting together, more so on the weekends because we have more time together. But I mean, it's our primary topic. Like, you know, should we plan what our house is going to look like when we remodel it? Or should we, you know, like we literally sit and like spend time in our future together all the time.
Yeah.
It's
so
great.
When we think about, if we think about the law of action and how it relates to setting intention and goals, it's also about then taking the steps forward to the desires that we have. But today, Cate and I thought we might talk about times that we didn't do that we weren't in alignment, because, you know, as we discussed in the last episode, we talked about it's setting intentions and goals, it's being proactive and really living in what it is that you're believing. It's then aligning your thoughts and actions. And that's where a lot of people don't necessarily do those two, proactivity and aligning with our thoughts and actions.
Mm-hmm.
Also accepting responsibility for the things that we can actually do in the moment, and then ultimately manifesting it. So Cate, today we were going to talk a little bit about things that we have done and times that we weren't successful, and what it is that when we think back on it, the things that we learned. So I know you wanted to start with, I think, a personal one first. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, like, so, I mean, the biggest thing in my personal life as it relates to the law of action is like my freaking like daily, even hourly struggle with staying on task, you know, like, so I will have my goals for the day, and sometimes that's not even formal, because, you know, sometimes it's just like, well, I have to get this shit done today, you know, in order to get to my meetings, and in order to get to, whatever I need to get done. Maybe I have a project, maybe I don't, but I mean, it's a regular struggle. So my ADHD really makes the law of action hard in a lot of ways, because when you're hyper, you're acting all the time. You think you are, right? You're doing shit. And your brain is like sending all these signals all the time that you're getting stuff done, because you're always in action.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality is that with the lack of focus, with the starting a new project and getting distracted, and ooh, there's a shiny thing over there, and oh, that's interesting, I want to do that too, and all of that, it really makes it hard to get things done, right? So you're doing, but you're not dunning, So some of the things that so there are days, there are weeks where where that kind of can still go unchecked a little bit, for me. What I have found is that when I disrupt my schedule, which is often because I also really love adventures, also really love I love flexibility and openness, and I love the ability to like work anywhere, right? So I take advantage of that. What I struggle with when I do those things is the slight disruption in my routine, in my schedule, provides another barrier for me to be connecting those dots and getting things done. So I have to keep it in front of mind all the time. I mean, what do you, okay, everyone knows you're also my boss. So like, you notice this, right? In a way.
Yeah. And do you mind if I share an observation on a word choice that I noticed?
Yes, please do.
So I noticed that you said my ADHD.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I have learned is that when we own whatever it is, we are making it a part of who we are. And so if we want ADHD to be something that is something I'm dealing with, it's like I deal with ADHD, not mine. So I don't own it. You don't want to own it, because then you're just saying that's who I'm going to just always be this.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That is a great observation. And as soon as you said it, I was like, oh, I know where she's going. Yeah. Yeah.
But I think that, the other thing from, you said creativeness. And so one of the things that I had to rectify for myself is I had to add something called chaos and decisions, on my calendar. And I think that you should allow time for creativity as well. And so I don't know, is that something you're doing on your calendar?
A little bit. I mean, because I have so I put time in my daily routine to write, and a lot of times that's where my creativity will come out, because the creative and is always there. Like I'm a very creative person.
Yeah.
But if I don't dedicate time to getting it out in some way, it just shows up in my in random times, so so right now I'm doing that as writing, which I'm really enjoying, and some of it's journaling, some of it is just funny stories. The other night I had this entire dream, or not, I had this entire 2 hour, when I wasn't sleeping, thinking about how I could be a stand-up comedian. And I'll take all the things that I've written and how I could do it, and I don't really think that I want to, but it was really fun to picture it and go there,
I love it.
Of course, it distracted me for a good 2 hours instead of sleeping, but That's
I,
what happens.
I do. I think that it's important that we do take time for those things that
Right.
really fuel us. I leave it's always in the creative
Uh-huh.
time for me is morning. So
Yes.
I will spend the morning just I have a rocking chair upstairs, and my husband's always like, "Are you going to come down for breakfast?" And I'll say, not this morning. I'll be down later. I'm in the mood. I have a creativity rush of things. So for
Mm-hmm.
me, it's knowing when you are also creative. And then I also try to honor it by, if I have an idea, I have notes of like all kinds of shit. So I'll go write down whatever it is. So whenever I'm in a creative mood, sometimes I'll come back to it and I'm like, oh yeah, this idea. And then it'll spawn. So I at least honor it in the moment by at least jotting it down and noting it. But if I have to stay focused in what I'm doing, then I'll stay focused in what I'm doing, but I still will make sure that I'm at least jotting it down.
Yeah, yeah. I love that. Um, what something I used in the past, as almost like a crutch, like as a way to force myself to slow down,
Hmm.
was I used marijuana. I used weed as a way to like slow myself down. And when I
Mm.
and I've stopped, so it's been, maybe even 5 or 6 months, and I that's when I got a little bit more serious about incorporating it into my mornings. I have a pretty rigid-ish morning routine if I'm able to follow it,
Yeah.
because it's I do find it really helpful for me to exercise, for me to meditate, and for me to plan my day in terms of to-dos and write that all down. Um, that's when I have my best days. What I had to incorporate is that time for creativity, and that's been like the writing and even spending some time on LinkedIn, which is weird because like social media um, was always a big distractor for me. It's always really hard.
Yeah.
But I've incorporated it into my morning because I do find myself being really creative there. If I read a post and I think about like, okay, what do I want to contribute to this, or what do I want to say in response to this, and it ends up being like, I think, a way for me to be creative.
Hmm.
But what I realized is um, the marijuana was calming my mind because I would be really creative. If I would use it for sleep, or I'd use it for like creative. Like if I wanted to write a blog or something, that would be when I wanted to use marijuana. And what I realized is I was relying on my like forcing myself, like
Yeah.
literally using the substance to calm myself instead of figuring out a way that I had that power myself, right?
Yeah.
So that's something I think I want to share that just came up for me when you were talking,
Yeah.
because I think we all do that, and or not we all, but we have a tendency to do that. Like I know some people that will use alcohol, or some other way to create a mood or an environment, that they are more comfortable in because of that substance, right? Like
Yeah.
I know you and we can have a good time without alcohol, but
Hmm.
that's kind of rare, right? A lot of people
Yeah.
need that like alcohol to like let their inhibitions out,
Yeah.
um, and it took me a long time to get there too, honestly, but now I'm like, I'm so convinced that I'm a good time no matter what.
I agree. Interestingly enough, I just had this conversation with my daughter, and she was asking me, she was like, have you ever done drugs? And so she asked me that question, and I told her, I said, well, in high school, I didn't even drink. I said,
Mhm.
I hadn't done anything. And I said, and really in college, I didn't drink either. And I said, and I really hadn't even done anything until I was in my mid 40s. So, and that was really, gummies. And so the first time I tried was a mint that was while I was in California, and it was legal
Yeah.
over there. And it really didn't do anything. But since then, occasionally I will do, they're not necessarily, they're the Delta 8,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is legal here. And so, but it's the
It
same
has
type of,
THC in it, but it's not like,
yeah.
yep.
And so I've done that, and that actually does have an interesting effect. It really does sort of open the mind and things like that. But I just told her, I said, look, I said, you have it on both sides. I said, you have alcoholics on my side, you have alcoholics on the other side. And I said, we had drug addiction. My cousin passed away
Right.
of drugs. My uncle had, huge issues with it whenever he was younger. And I said, so you do have to be careful. And then I was talking with my sister and found out even within our side, we actually have so for example, we have individuals in our family that if they were to do like binge drinking or, like during like a fraternity chugging, they could actually die. So there's like DNA where you could actually
Oh,
have
really?
tested to be able to understand how you metabolize alcohol.
Yeah.
And so that was one of the things she found out about some of her kids and let them know, hey, you need to be careful, like if you were to ever do this. So we don't know that about Riley, but eventually want to do DNA. But I think
Yeah.
it's just, I think the actions that you take, for me, the actions that I took is that I didn't need those things, and I learned to be able to go inward without
Yeah.
them.
Right.
And so I even remember, and I've talked about this before on the show, of going in. I just felt like I needed counseling. They wanted to give me drugs, part of the
Yeah.
psychiatric. And I was like, no, like, I don't feel like I need that. And so for me, that's a lot of times how we set people up for inaction. We set them up for failure instead of teaching them how to go inward. And I actually just did a post about this. I don't know if you saw that, Cate, but I was talking about how we deal with all of these things in life. We have prisons, we have mental illness, we have suicides, we have, all of these different things that
Mm-hmm.
people are dealing with. And when you think about it, people are just wanting to numb the pain, but it's
Right.
the pain of not dealing with the trauma or whatever it is they have in their life. So instead of really doing that, instead of going to a smoke, instead of going to a drink or a pill, or, it's even other things, I don't know that I've told this, but whenever I went in, I felt odd whenever I went inpatient in a it was a psychiatric 30-day inpatient event. And from that, I was watching all of these other kids that were around me, and they were, alcohol, drugs, all of these
Right.
things that they were dealing with. And I wasn't any of those things.
Right.
My problem was I was an overachiever. And I know that that sounds like, how is that a problem? Well, it was a problem for me because I was in fucking everything. And I was overworking myself, and I was numbing it through
Work.
overworking my
Right.
mind. And so people need to understand that these things manifest themselves in different ways for different people. And so for me, I had to learn to say no, which was a big part of not being a people pleaser in life. And so I learned
Mhm.
that early on no, I need to take care of myself, but
Right.
I still ended up doing that also to myself as I was trying to do things to get acknowledgement or things like that, instead of really understanding what my real purpose is in life and just focusing in on those things and saying no to the other things in my life.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. I think so. And it's so what you experience. I mean, even though that's what those other patients had to do too, right? They
Hmm.
had to learn to say no to the substance that they were dependent on, and you were
Right,
dependent on and overachieving in a way, right? Like on
right.
always saying yes and putting more on your plate and ignoring your happiness, that's how you were numbing,
Yep.
right? And so you had to learn to say no. I want to act differently. You know.
Well, I think the key for everyone is can you handle quiet? Can you handle it
Mm,
when you have no distraction, no TV, no anything? Can you just sit in silence and deal with the thoughts that come to your mind?
mm,
And if that is a problem, then you have to go get a drink, or you have to get a smoke, or you have to go do something. If you can't sit in peace and think about your life and where it is you want to go and the actions that you want to take without being distracted, then there's probably some more work to do.
right, right. Yeah, exactly. And in the beginning, you can force yourself, right? Like, so you can schedule that time into your life, and you can use prompts like journaling prompts or other things to make yourself, so like literally to force the action, right?
Mhm.
Because um that's part, like I think this is voluntary. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The like living by, we're covering these universal laws, but all of it's voluntary. We have to make the choice to do it. So if we're making the choice to to desire a different outcome, um, then there's a series of choices that follow after. And one of those is carving out the time to think about that, to be in the silence, to not rely on a distraction or a numbing agent or an upper agent, whatever it is, to not
Right.
rely on those things in order to be, and then
Yeah.
act.
Yeah. And I'll share, something else on the personal side. So for me, when I had been married, that relationship didn't work. I was in another relationship where I really spent a lot of time figuring me out. That person was someone that did help me discover myself, but I also found that we weren't the right match as well. Like it was a weird thing because I felt like this person was my best friend, and
Mm-hmm.
that's really what you want. But I also looked at my future with this person, and I was like, this isn't the future that I want.
Right.
And so it was really hard to make that decision. And
Yeah.
so think about that in your life, in what it is that you want. And also you have to be okay with saying, this isn't the life that I want, and be
Yeah.
able to walk away from it. And so I spent time in between each of them, because of the sexual abuse that I went through whenever I was younger. That became a reoccurring pattern of something that I still had to deal with as I was growing. So for me, I did it in, I had to get to where I wasn't ashamed of the choices that I made in between and the things that I did. And in actuality, for me, it also became a wake-up call for me.
Mm.
And so I was realizing that I was using sex in a way of feeling as if, I had power.
You in control,
Yeah,
right?
I had control. I'm the one doing, choosing this. When in actuality, I was also doing it in a way that wasn't honoring me and honoring,
Right.
really what sex is meant to be. So it was like a rectifying of, yes, one, it helped me to get power. I took that, but I also had to rectify the other aspect of it as well. So I don't
Right.
regret what it is that I did, because it helped me also to understand more about sex and what it is that I enjoyed and what it is I liked. But from that, I stepped back and I was like, okay, I need to really just focus on me as well. And I finally got to a point where I was like, okay, I'm more at peace with myself, and I'm now ready for an actual relationship. So I went for a period of time saying, I'm not ready for a relationship. I'm just gonna have fun.
Yeah.
And I got to a point where I was like, okay, I really need to, step back. And I was at a point where I was ready for a relationship. And that's when I ended up, finding Jay, or Jay ended up finding me. And so, but it was that mindset of, also being okay with me, because I remember when I put it out there, whenever I advertised, and we both had gone on Match, I put that I am a fuller woman. I am a successful woman. I am these things. And so, like, if this is something you're not into, then that's okay too. And so part of it was just being okay with who I was as a person, and saying that's okay if you're not attracted to that type of person. I'm a confident woman, and I found that there were many men that could not handle that as well as I started dating them. And I'm like, okay, well, that's your problem, like
Right.
that's a you problem. That's not a me. And then there were some guys that didn't want a fuller woman. I was like, okay, well, that's fine. If that's not what you want, that's fine too. And so it's being okay with who you are in the moment. It doesn't mean you're not going to do things to try to improve or do other things to evolve, but it's really just being okay with who you are, and then taking the actions to say, this is who I am, and this is who I still want to manifest, in life.
Right. Right. Yeah. And putting time and thought into that, right? So like you couldn't, if you didn't free yourself from all that shame,
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't have had the space to get personal and to get that awareness around, who am I and what do I want? You would have just stayed forever in that shame zone. And I think like we all have people in our lives that are living there, like
Yeah.
I have people that I love very dearly that there are things that they just will not deal with, and you see it, and that they should, and that they just live in that space, right?
Yeah.
I have one friend though that that balances it super well. Like, she's really interesting because there's one area of her life that is not what she wants. And she just acknowledges it, is aware of it, and then builds the life she wants outside of that one area,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that that's an important aspect of this that is perfectly okay, right? So there's, when you look around and you think about the way you want to be, and you get inspired by different things like this, right? Like to really truly be badass. I do think it's perfectly okay to compartmentalize if you need to, right? Like if that is what is in your best interest, for some reason that's beyond your control,
Yeah.
great.
Sometimes
But
that's needed.
what?
Sometimes that's needed.
Right. Yeah. Sometimes that's needed. Sometimes you need to stay in a job that, that because you need that income and you haven't quite figured out what you want to do yet. That's fine.
Well, and the other thing is maybe you stay in the job and you're also doing the side gig, so like it doesn't, I think the biggest thing to keep in mind regarding when you're thinking about the law of action is a lot of times people feel it's an or. I've got to do this or I've got to do this.
Right.
When in actuality, it could be I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this.
Right. Right. Exactly. And then be grateful for the opportunity to do that and do it, right? Take the accountability and the responsibility and do it. In my career, I probably spent a little longer than I should have, ignoring my desire to stop running my business. Like I knew in the back of my head, like it was dragging me down and it was too much. I also knew that it afforded me a lot of flexibility during some chaotic points in our family. There were times when I was able to just completely stop working in order to hyper focus and help a kid get to a facility that they needed, or like do the things that we needed to do, and we were in the thick of fostering and adopting and dealing with traumas, and so I think it served its purpose. But I also think there was a point where I was holding on for some pride of I've been doing this for 10 years and I don't want to give up yet, versus what do I really want to do? Do I want to do this all the time? This is my full-time gig, and the answer was probably no, but I wasn't able to see that from pride, so.
Yeah. So when you think about that moment, I want to stop you there for a second. Think about I think where a lot of times people struggle is getting clear on what actually makes them happy. And so when you started to reflect, when you reflect back on that moment, what actually did you want, and what would make you happy at that time?
Yeah, but I was so used to being busy, and carrying multiple things at once. But I was drawn to just doing one thing for a while, and that seemed so foreign to me. But I had to sit back and say, you know what? I really do enjoy this more than all the other stuff. I gravitate towards this, and enough is happening in my life. There's enough chaos right now in the middle of a big crisis. This would be the best time for me to give in and simplify and focus on one thing, right?
Yeah.
So, for me, it took a crisis that I wanted to dig myself out of, in order to see it. So I would, I guess my advice to people, or those in our audience, would be to regularly check in with yourself and pay attention to what truly makes you happy. Pay attention to how you feel when you're doing one thing versus the other. I'll say that, as women, as moms, we are put in the position of often doing like things that are like gross or unhappy or and we just power through and do it, because that's what you got to do. Like, you got to change diapers. You can't not, that we sometimes, I think, take that into our other areas of life too much. But for me, I needed to pare back that business and focus and work for Full Sail, because that's what I enjoyed for years. That's what I enjoyed the most. And then, when I was in crisis, it was like, how am I going to get myself out of this? Well, there's a huge area in my life I could simplify, if I just allowed myself to do that. And that was really important.
Yeah. I think it's, the getting clear on yourself and what it is that you want. And I can tell you, for me, from a business perspective, it was also being open to the possibilities. And so whenever I look at things and changes that I want in my life, I have found that if I say it must be this way, then I limit myself to the other possibilities. So I have continued down a path of, as I'm looking at business and things like that, I will look at what it is that I really want to be happy and say, here's what it is that I'm looking for, and also look at how it is that I might maneuver in different ways. And a good example of that was, way back whenever I was fired, I actually posted about this. Jim Hanna, who I just found out not too long ago, had passed away. And I also said that I posted something that I wondered if he knew that he made an impact on me in my life. That through the firing, he did it in such a humane way. He allowed me to continue to work at his company while I searched for a position and while he found another person. And what I loved is that he recognized that I wanted more in my life. And so he knew that I wasn't the right fit. And he knew that he needed to find someone else, but he also needed to sort of set me free to go find something else, because I wasn't ultimately, I was wanting more for their company, and they just wanted to be who they were. You know, they didn't want to grow. And he saw that I wanted to. So
Yeah.
from that, that's how I ended up getting into marketing consulting. So I was forced to do something. So I
Yeah.
was on unemployment at first, and then I became a marketing consultant. And that's how I ended up in the data side. I ended up having someone, so I was paying attention. I think part of it is also paying attention
Right.
as you're going through trauma or as you're going through a crisis.
Mm-hmm.
And I had someone that was like, I had all these things I had designed and all these different things. And what they ended up liking was my organizational skills. I had a screenshot of like how I organized people's files to be able to organize their projects. And I was like, really? This is what you're interested in? Like, it was the most perplexing thing, but I was like, well, that's interesting. So
Yeah.
from that, I was like, okay, how many other people have this type of issue where they don't have an organized system? And so that's how I ended up back into the database side of the house. I
Mm.
started working with people to help them organize their file structures. And it was very simple. Like, I was like, this is like basic 101. But it's funny how the things that are the easiest to you are like overwhelming for other people.
Right.
And so that's actually what set me down my career, was listening to that person saying, ooh, this is what I'm interested in, and not ignoring it and saying, I wonder what if there's something here. And so it was following that. So that
Mm.
path. And so it was the things that I was really good at was, ended up leading me into CRM consulting, and then eventually leading me into becoming, an
A
owner.
business owner. Yeah.
A business owner. And I will say that the thing that led me into being a business owner is not saying this isn't my job.
Hmm.
And a lot of times people will say, well, that's not my job. Well, here's the thing. If things aren't your job, and if you're not willing to take on things and help out, then you are not showing that you have an entrepreneurial spirit and you want to be able to take on more. And
Mm.
so that was one of the things that I also learned. I was chosen to be in that position because of the amount of hard work that I put into it, the amount of dedication that I did. And I remember when we were splitting up company wise with the other firm to form Full Sail Partners, Kevin O'Connor had come to me with a logo, and I was like, Kevin, please, let's go to a branding person. Let's please do this right. And I said, I'm willing to spend my own money. And he stopped on the phone and went, okay, if it's that important to you, then I have to spend money on this. And I was like, okay. I was like, but it is that important that I'm willing to spend my own money.
Right.
And
Like, I don't want to be associated with this unless you do it right. And if
we,
you won't agree with me, then I'll freaking pay for it myself. Like,
and so he knew that that's how
yeah.
serious I was. And I think that, that also in itself showed him that I'm willing to invest, in this company because I believe in this
Yeah.
particular thing so much. And so I when people are thinking about the goals and the things that they're doing, think about the actions that you take. Are you willing to risk your own money to also invest, to be seen in what it is that you're doing? And so I think that for me, it has always been those actions of willing to step in things that are not my business,
Right.
because I see that they're an issue within the company and I'm willing to step up. I'm willing to also dig in and do the hard work. Those are the things for me that ended up allowing me to be recognized and allowing me to get to where I'm at.
Yeah, definitely. And to stay where you're at, right? And to stay,
Mm-hmm.
because that is what ownership often looks like, right?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you're the person, right? So as a company ebbs and flows, and as people come in and out, when you're the owner or when you're an entrepreneur, you have to be able to put on a variety of different hats. Um, that's out of necessity. But then also putting on those different hats is what allows people to break out of a box, right? So like sometimes you can't see what's wrong in your department or in your personal life
Yeah.
or whatever. You need someone else to help you see it. Then, then you can put the law of action into play, because you can set the goal and the intention and do all the other things, take responsibility and then truly manifest it. But it all starts with seeing it. If you don't see it, how can you set a goal around it?
I agree. And that's also one of the other actions that I've really spent time is asking people questions and asking them to reflect and say, where can I be a better leader? What have you observed? And so thinking about your own life, if you're unwilling to say, what can I do, to be a better person, or what can I do to better support you? What can I do to, what are the things that I can do that I might not realize about myself that I need to reflect upon?
Right.
If we're not willing to ask the hard questions of like those, and really they're not that hard, but the hard part is the hearing part and being willing to accept what it is that people say.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And then, right. Having that open mind, that's the hard part, right? I think for a lot of people, you may want the end goal, but to get there, you have to open yourself up. You have to bury yourself a little bit.
Yeah. So, well, I hope today, Cate and I gave you a little bit of insight in the things that we have, the goals we have set, the ways that we've been proactive, or the ways that maybe we weren't proactive as well, how maybe our thoughts weren't in alignment with the actions that we wanted, and also how important responsibility is in accepting for yourself that you control your reality, you control your destiny,
Right.
and to focus on not blaming others, but to focus on how you can make change to be able to manifest what you want in your life.
Yeah, absolutely. That's badassery in action, right? I think the law of action is super badass when deployed correctly, because you are taking all that responsibility. You are doing what's best for yourself, but in a way that gets you to the next place, right? The next plateau that you want to be at. So
I love that. That's a great ending.
thank you. All right. Well, I miss you already, even though you're here with me. But I am glad that we are recording ahead of time. What do we have next week for folks?
Yeah.
We have some guests coming up.
Yeah, so we have 2 guests that are going to be, we're going to have a guest, and then we're going to have panelists. So we're going to have Kelly Chester, who's going to be talking about the law of action in her life and how it is that she's embraced it and how she utilizes it. And then we have 2 individuals that are going to be joining us. Tats and Catherine are going to be joining us as guests, and they're going to be talking. We're going to ask them questions related to the law of action and how they have utilized the law of action in their own life.
Yeah. So stay tuned for those fun upcoming events, and the descriptions. We'll put out just some descriptions about them on LinkedIn and elsewhere, so that you can read about why you wanna come back and interact with those awesome folks.
Yeah. Well, everybody have a great weekend, and we will see you again on the following Friday.
Yes. Yep. Take care. Have a badass weekend.